This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Another week, another record. Fox News' Bill Malugin reporting from the border, Tucson sector. 18,900 apprehensions of illegal immigrants in the last week alone. It's the highest weekly total ever recorded for the sector, breaking the prior record of 17,500, which was set the prior week.
Oh, there you go.
Most of the illegal crossings were in Lukeville, where Malugin has been reporting on border wall breaches and mass incursions. The Tucson sector, again, reminder, just one of 9 border patrol sectors along the southern border.
And of that, which people aren't discussing, 390 unaccompanied minors, children without parent. And who knows what's going to happen with them.
Yeah, where they can be added to the 85,000 children that we don't know where they went because of the lawlessness at the border. And that's compassionate?
It's a sex trafficker's dream.
And so that prompted one border state governor, Katie Hobbs. Remember her? She's a border state governor.
You know what? Because remember, she campaigned in the basement. She wouldn't have a debate with Carrie Lake and all that. People don't even know what her voice sounds like. But yeah, no, she decided to go to Lukesville because now there's a problem.
I'm here at the Lukeville Port of Entry to assess the situation on the ground firsthand and get Customs and Border Patrol the resources they need to reopen our port of entry. Security is a top priority, and as long as I'm governor, I'll do whatever I can to end the chaos at the border. I'm not afraid to stand up to politicians on either side who aren't doing what's in the best interests of Arizona. And I'm taking action. This week, I sent a letter to President Biden demanding the resources and manpower to open this port of entry. And we announced Operation Secure to step up state support for local law enforcement. But Arizona can't do this alone, nor should we have to. We're asking the federal government to reimburse us for the costs to Arizonans. For far too long, Arizona has borne the brunt of federal inaction on our southern border, and I'm tired of it. Now is not the time for partisan politics. It's time for action.
Wow. It was almost
so assertive.
It was so lifelike. Yeah, so that's how bad it is.
Oh, my God.
How bad it is now is that Katie Hobbs has to do her Eric Adams impersonation, who was prompt, and BLM Brandon impersonation for Chicagoans. And, of course, that is not dissimilar to what Greg Abbott, Ron DeSantis, and Republican border state governors have been saying for many, many moons. Welcome to the party, Katie Hobbs. Now she can no longer ignore it. That's what she was really communicating. I tried for as long as I could, but I can't ignore it anymore because I don't want to have a 28% approval rating like Eric Adams currently has.
Well, currently, as we speak, there are 10,000+ of illegals, Dan, that are sitting in Arizona. She's going to have to do what Abbott does. She's going to have to bust them out of there. There's no place for them to go.
Well,
so that's going to be interesting when she starts doing that because the Tucson shelters are packed, Nogales shelters are packed, and Lukeville is west of Nogales, and there's nowhere for them to go.
I wouldn't expect. I mean, that could happen. It could happen quietly. It could happen through cutouts like Catholic Charities, as we've seen in Texas. But the other thing, of course, is that we all live in a border state now. Mm-hmm. We know this in Chicagoland because of the base camps that are being planned, if not built quite yet, and all the persons who've entered this country legally that have been shipped to Chicago. But also because of these burglary rings that are getting a little bit more profile. We had one that was comprised of people from Colombia here illegally, and our very own ABC7 reporting on another in Detroit.
Gangs from South America are breaking into multi-million-dollar homes across the country and now in Metro Detroit. And police say they're highly functional and well-trained.
The guy to the right in the middle, that's a jammer. So he's jamming signals right now.
Those jammers then render the Wi-Fi security systems useless. At least 30 to 40 homes have been hit since September in Detroit, and thieves getting away with cash, jewelry, expensive handbags in minutes.
You know, a lot of this stuff is being packed up into boxes for shipping as they're driving away from your home.
Oh, that's convenient.
Well, I mean, they've got their act together. That's more than we can say of the Biden administration. For more on this, we're pleased to be joined by Mark Morgan, former Customs and Border Protection Commissioner. Mark, thanks for being with us. Appreciate it.
Thank you both for having me.
So, I mean, just the South American burglary rings. That's a development that hasn't gotten as much ink nationally, but it's starting to bubble up to the surface too. There's a lot of talk about, the gangbangers, the MS-13 types, and other bad hombres, as Trump once said, coming across the border. But then there's like really sophisticated operators too that are coming across to do Americans harm.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And we have the governor of Arizona that after 3 years, you said she finally joined the party to go actually to the physical border. And she's taken strong action. Yeah. Did you listen to what her strong action is? She sent a letter.
Woohoo!
I mean,
yeah.
Right?
Strongly worded letter. Yeah.
Right, exactly. And keep in mind what she's doing, and you mentioned it already, I'm just foot stomping here, but she's taking on the same mantra as a New York mayor, Mayor Adams, and that he's not asking, and nor did she ask this administration to reverse its open border policies that has caused the chaos and lawlessness at our border. She's asking for more taxpayer money to simply manage it after the crisis has already entered our border. That's key. The second part is very important. This is, and I agree with you, it's never talked about, is that right now, over the past 3 years, we've had over 10 million aliens come to our borders, 8 million that we've encountered, and over 2 million that have just gotten away. And we know among them, look, I'm not saying they're all bad, but guess what? They're not all good, right? I mean, that's why we have a got-away, over 2 million, because they know that they have a background that even this administration would not allow them into the country. And now we wonder, every single day we have murderers, rapists, pedophiles, aggravated felons, and gang members being released in our country every single day. And now they're finally starting to wake up and go, whoa, maybe this is an issue.
Well, what about the ones from China? I mean, there was hundreds of them. I mean, were they sent by the Chinese government to infiltrate our country and then join our military? Because that's what our Senator Dick Durbin wants them to do.
I mean, so look, that's a very honest question that we should be asking. I don't understand why we're not screaming this from the mountaintops. That's not hyperbole. In the past 36 months, we've encountered over 24,000 Chinese nationals. 24,000. That's more than the past 15, 18 years combined. And the majority of the 24,000 are single adult males of military age. What we're just supposed to just shrug our shoulders and say, nothing to see here, as China is and continues to be one of the global threats against not just the world, but also our country. And we're supposed to just pretend like that's not an issue? That's what's happening on our southwest border. That's
more than the undergrad population of Chinese nationals at U of I. I mean, that's how big that number is. Anyway, I digress. So your former colleague, Tom Homan, has suggested that the posture that House Republicans should take is they fund nothing until there not is more staffing at the border, until there's policy changes at the border that have been widely discussed, like Remain in Mexico and so forth. Do you agree with him about that?
100%. This is a very important question because what's happened on our border was not caused by a resource issue. From the moment the Biden administration took over from the Trump administration, they had the same amount of resources. Well, then, if they had the same amount of resources, why did we see a complete historic, chaotic lawlessness happen on our border? It's because of policies. That's the issues. And let me just give you a couple. The network of tools and authorities we had in place under the Trump administration that had resulted in the most secure border we had. The safe third country agreements we had with all three Northern Triangle countries, gone. The Remain in Mexico program, gone. Building the wall, gone. Our ability to actually allow ICE to do their job in the interior to actually apprehend and remove those that are here illegally, completely gutted. So, and I could keep going on. So this is a policy issue. And right now the Republicans have an opportunity. It's called H.R. 2. It's the strongest piece of border security legislation that's ever been passed in the history of Congress. It was passed in the House, and all but one Republican voted for it. There's your answer. But we have Republicans in the Senate right now that are negotiating with themselves, watering down H.R. 2, and I don't understand it. H.R. 2 is the answer. In fact, in my opinion, it doesn't go far enough. But again, it's the strongest piece that's ever been passed. That's how we get for this administration to reverse its policy and get some control over our borders.
And detail the highlights of H.R. 2.
Yeah, so one of them is just what you said. So it's actually going to put forth policies like the Remain in Mexico. It's going to reform the asylum process. And it's actually going to put resources there as well. So it's a multi-layer strategy of both resources and policy both that's actually going to serve as a deterrence and consequences to those that are illegally entering. You reduce illegal immigration, you get more resources back on the border to secure our border.
And the one question I always have about personnel, just because of the turnaround time on the adjudication of these asylum applications, which I understand are a small fraction of those people who are in this country. I guess technically, if you filed an asylum application legally under this administration, but otherwise, small percentage. But the judges that adjudicate these cases. Is it a personnel problem in terms of having more cases adjudicated in a more timely manner? I mean, it just they talk about the people waiting for their asylum application to be adjudicated for years and years, waiting for court date for years and years. Well, that shouldn't be the case either. It should be pretty quick turnaround, and in most cases, it shouldn't be that complicated.
That's right, and it would be if we would stop the bleeding. It would be if we would stop the invasion. That's the problem. But so the Democrats, that's what they want. They said, oh, well, we need more lawyers. We need more immigration judges to get through the backlog. No, that's not the issue. That's addressing the answer. That's the issue. That's reacting to the crisis once it's here. We should stop the crisis. And what I mean by that is we should stop illegal aliens from being released into the country. We know the overwhelming majority of those that come to file a claim are fraudulent claims. They're not the victims of state-sponsored persecution because of their involvement in a protected class. They're economic migrants. So we know the overwhelming majority are fraudulent claims, but yet we're releasing them in the United States, and they're part of the backlog. We have enough resources already to address legitimate asylum claims if we would actually enforce the law, secure our border, and stem the flow of illegal immigration and fraudulent claims.
If the federal government doesn't act, doesn't move H.R. 2, for example, what do you think of what Governor Abbott did in Texas, which is essentially to deputize all state and local law enforcement as border patrol? I mean, de facto, in the sense that they are empowered to detain and bring back for deportation anybody in Texas and by extension this country illegally.
I applaud Governor Abbott. What he's done is, in the face of this government failing to uphold their constitutional responsibility to protect every state from threats outside its border, Governor Abbott is stepping up and doing the job of the federal government. In my opinion, he's actually availing himself of the self-help remedy in the Constitution that says very clearly, if the federal government fails to do their job to protect the states can protect themselves. And this is one more step under Operation Lone Star. The Texas legislature actually passed new laws that said it's a state crime to illegally enter across the U.S.-Texas
right.
border. I think it's absolutely the right thing, and it's one more step in the right direction to send a strong message that's going to deter individuals from illegally entering, at least in the state of Texas.
He is Mark Morgan, former U.S. Customs and Border Protection Commissioner. Mark, thank you as always.
You bet. Thank you both.
Thank you, and he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
The more you listen, the more you'll know. This is Chicago's Morning Answer. Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Do you have a home remodeling project you'd love to get done? This is your opportunity to lock in this year's pricing with Chicago's Design Build Dream Team. Forever Remodeling is now offering exceptional savings. Simply sign on by December 31st to avoid any price increases next year. At Forever Remodeling,